Hi there, this is Afro Perspectives. I'm going to give you some updates on the succession plans in ZANU PF, especially relating to Emerson Mnangagwa's plans to award himself with a third term and bring in new amendments to the constitution, which he intends to push through at the upcoming National People's Conference, which is going to take place in about a week's time in Bulawayo. For most people who are familiar with Emerson Mnangagwa, they remark that he is a strategist and he always plans 3 steps ahead of his enemies or those he is contesting power with. And in this case, people are saying that Emerson Mnangagwa is leaving nothing to chance, and he has actually, as of yesterday, flown in from Harare to Bulawayo to make sure that he is on the ground, that everything is in place in terms of who is actually accredited to attend the National People's Conference, and that the right sort of ZANU PF members, those mainly those people who are aligned to his faction, that they actually constitute a majority of those who are going to attend the National People's Conference. So those are the plans Emerson Mnangagwa is putting in place. And then there is another intriguing development that has just come up within the past few days. It is the cabinet reshuffle. That cabinet reshuffle, no one expected that Emerson would actually do that sort of mini reshuffle. The background to that is Emerson Mnangagwa himself is no longer sure whether he is going to prevail against the Chiwenga faction. So he has come up with Plan B, and that Plan B is centered on Frederick Shava. What has come up is that with Emerson Mnangagwa himself, the only person he can trust within his cabinet is Frederick Shava. And Frederick Shava has been, since 2017 when he formed his cabinet, he has been posted to the Foreign Affairs Ministry portfolio. And with the Foreign Ministry, he is always on planes going somewhere and is not actually up to scratch with politics as it is happening on the ground in Zimbabwe. So Emerson Mnangagwa has carried out this reshuffle and he gave the education portfolio to Frederick Shava. And the reasoning behind that is Frederick Shava, as Minister of Education, will be able to in tune with what is actually going on the ground, like I've said before. And then Amon Muruira, who up until now has been the Minister of Education, is now going to the Foreign Affairs portfolio. Some are calling the reposting, Frederick Shava's reposting, that is a demotion. But those who are aware of the succession politics in ZANU PF are saying Emerson Mnangagwa is preparing for the eventuality that if all else fails at the National People's Conference, he has got someone he can trust with Frederick Shava. Frederick Shava, you have to remember, is the only member of cabinet who has been emeritus since the early 1980s. He has been in a succession of ZANU PF cabinets, although he resigned in 1986 due to the Willowgate scandal. That's all in the past, and Emerson Mnangagwa believes that if he were to fail to push through a third term, the plans for his third term, that is the plans to succeed himself, and amends to the constitution for him to stay beyond 2028, he can always argue that Frederick Shava is the most senior politician in ZANU PF, because after Emerson Mnangagwa himself, he is the most senior politician in terms of how long he has been in ZANU PF itself, and in terms of how long he has been a cabinet minister. So that's the reason. And the other factor is that Frederick Shava is from the Midlands province. He is someone Emerson Mnangagwa can trust in terms of the tribal sort of like loyalty, and to Emerson Mnangagwa that counts most, because he is looking at someone who, if they were to take over after him, they will be looking after that is Emerson Mnangagwa's own interest. But then what has come up is that the war veterans, there are at least three factions, as far as I can tell. There is the faction which was until recently led by Christopher Mnangagwa, which held its elective conference in Gweru about a week ago, and they elected Cephas Ncube as its leader. So that's one other faction. And then the other faction is the other one that accompanied Mnangagwa himself to the High Court in Chinhoyi. And that faction is led by, is it Macharwa or something, some name, I can't remember the exact name, but there is that other faction. And that faction, I'm not sure exactly where they stand, but what I can tell you is that there is a third faction that's led by Andreas Mativela. And Andreas Mativela is claiming that he is the leader of the real faction that represents war veterans. And he is claiming that the faction he leads comprises most war veterans. And his claim is given the figure of 75% of all war veterans. And then what Mativela is also alleging is that the faction of the war veterans that led by Cephas Ncube is only leading that faction that composes the ZANU-PF of pre-1987. So there is an element here that Mativela is claiming that most members who comprise people who are in the Matabeleland provinces and Midlands province, they are represented by the faction he leads. Then that Mnangagwa faction and Cephas Ncube, they represent the pre-1987 ZANU-PF, and they are saying they represent a tiny fraction, only a tiny fraction of the war veterans, that is in terms of numbers. So there are also clips that are circulating on media where they are showing Christopher Mnangagwa, and Christopher Mnangagwa has been shown in most those clips that are social media circulating on social media. You would not stand up in Chiwenga's presence, whereas everyone else would stand up while Chiwenga is entering a room. Christopher Mnangagwa would simply remain seated. And Mnangagwa would not even bother acknowledging that Chiwenga is his senior. Chiwenga is vice president. So that faction led by Cephas Ncube, and which held this elective conference in Gweru, they are in Mnangagwa's camp, and they are aligned to their goals are the third term for Mnangagwa. So it's out of the question that they would support Chiwenga. And so this is where we are. And then Andreas Mativela held a press conference yesterday, and that he was saying that anyone who would have a preference to have a ZANU-PF leader, it's their constitutional right. I've got a clip here, and I'll just go through with you, try to analyze what's actually the message he has been trying to send to the Chiwenga faction. Just take a listen to this.
But look, personally, I could have a preference of a leader. That's my constitutional right. But I don't want to overimpose or superimpose my will to some might have a different opinion. I think where we must agree is there should be a succession plan. Our future must be predictable. We can't have people smuggled to lead us when we have no knowledge about their background. My view is, or my preference is, from the ruling party, let there be someone who must emerge as a natural leader. And to us, we also believe in respecting seniority. Even the family of the party, where people who are senior enough, let that person automatically be supported. That's all I'm saying. You can't just then go and get someone from outside there, umfekela or umfekela, ngoba you want her or him to protect you or whatever interest you have. It must be the people's choice. And the succession plan must be the order of the day. Because the party, ZPF, belongs to the people. And if it belongs to people, who has a better say than the people themselves?
So there you have it. So that's Matiwela on there. He is talking in the first person, and he is saying that's it is everyone's constitutional right that they have to choose who their leader is. So here he is actually talking about Emmerson Mnangagwa and his plans, and he is saying Emmerson Mnangagwa cannot impose someone from the outside. So that person, I'm figuring out it should be Frederick Shava, because Frederick Shava has been, before 2017, he was working in the United Nations abroad, and he only came into ZANU-PF politics, rejoined ZANU-PF politics after 2017. And what Matiwela is saying that they need someone who has been within ZANU-PF structures. And he goes on to say that people Mnangagwa is preparing to bring into ZANU-PF. We have no knowledge about their background. There must be someone who must emerge as a natural leader. So this actually explains it. By a national leader, what Matiwela is referring to is it's actually a reference to Chiwenga. That Chiwenga is simply a natural leader by virtue of the way politics has played out in ZANU-PF for the past 7 or so 8 or so years. And Andreas Matiwela is convinced that there is a natural leader within ZANU-PF right now, and that does not include people like Frederick Shava. And besides Emmerson Mnangagwa, the most other senior person in terms of seniority in ZANU-PF is naturally Chiwenga. So this is where the succession politics in ZANU-PF, this is how it stands. And Matiwela is firmly behind Chiwenga's plans. And Emmerson Mnangagwa, they are pushing us to resign in 2028. And then the next person who is senior enough in ZANU-PF is the vice president. Naturally, that is Chiwenga, and he should take over. And this is where all of Emmerson Mnangagwa's plans for a third term, this is where they are hitting a brick wall. And then Andreas Matiwela is also talking about respecting renewal, which is a thinly veiled reference to Emmerson Mnangagwa's age. Emmerson Mnangagwa officially claims he is 82 years old, but most people, they are convinced that he is 86 years old, if not even older. And most people who are close to him at State House and who observe him during functions, they are saying he is starting to slow down. He is losing some of his powers of recall. So talking about the subject of renewal is actually simply another roundabout way of suggesting that Emmerson Mnangagwa is old. He should now let the young generation take over. So that's what Matiwela is saying. And he talks about, like I've said, there are more senior enough people in ZANU-PF who can be supported. And this again points to his support for Chiwenga. And at this point in time, a few days before the National Elective Conference for ZANU-PF itself, from Emmerson Mnangagwa's point of view, there is no unity. There is no consensus that Emmerson Mnangagwa should actually run for another third term. He should actually succeed himself, and he should amend the constitution. So judging from what Mativela's faction is saying, there is no prospect that Emerson Mnangagwa's faction is simply going to emerge victorious, unless what we are seeing on social media, where they are saying they are actually registering people, that is people aligned to Mnangagwa, that they are registering people, making sure that people who are accredited to attend the national conference, they are actually from Emerson Mnangagwa's faction. Remember, Opam Chinguri has in the past 10 days or so, she has been saying that there are plans to, instead of having 4,000 delegates attending the National People's Conference, there are plans to slim down the number of people who are attending the conference from the original 4,000 to just about those people who are in the Politburo and then the ZANU-PF Central Committee. And if I'm right, the Politburo is got only about 49 members, and then the ZANU-PF Central Committee has about 230 members. So you can see for yourself the plans that are in place. From nearly 4,000 people, the number is slimmed down to just about 279 people that who are attending who will be attending the National People's Conference. So you can see for yourself, this is what we are seeing. What takes place at the national level, that is elections that are conducted by Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, ZEC, and we are seeing that repeating itself even with within ZANU-PF as a party. ZANU-PF is even prepared to rig its own election. They are prepared to rig their own elections to achieve those sort of outcomes they want. Yeah, so, and then it's not a secret that Emerson Mnangagwa is planning for a third term. Although Emerson Mnangagwa himself would want to, has been silent about all this, he's been actually mobilizing his own people, his own faction, his own voter base, in terms of making sure that those plans are going to sail through. You just need to listen to people like Owen Mnangagwa. This is Owen Mnangagwa. Just listen to this.
2030. 2030. Pasina Walter Mzembi. Pasina Tyson Kasukuere.
So obviously you can see from people like Owen Mnangagwa that they are still fighting old battles, and besides their push for the third term for Mnangagwa, they still consider Walter Mzembi, Tyson Kasukuere as if they are still in the factional battles in ZANU-PF. Those are old G40 stalwarts, and they are no longer part of the power matrix within ZANU-PF. They are long gone, and I would doubt even if Tyson Kasukuere and Walter Mzembi will be able to attend this National People's Conference. So you have people like Owen Mnangagwa. He is a loyal foot soldier for Emerson Mnangagwa. He is a political enforcer for Emerson Mnangagwa. And these are the sort of people who are pushing for the third term. These are people who are putting the 2030 slogan, the 2030 mantra, and they are actually determined that Emerson Mnangagwa should get a third term. There are loads of them in ZANU-PF, especially those people from parts of the Midlands, maybe the whole of Masvingo. And, well, you can exclude the military generals from Masvingo anyway. They are behind Chiwenga. Their reasoning is simple. People like Owen Mnangagwa owe their careers to Emerson Mnangagwa. Without Emerson Mnangagwa, they are nothing. They would not have been where they are. Owen Mnangagwa does not have any political base. He has, and judging from his utterances, he is not someone who is comfortable with projecting any talent at all. So these are the sort of people pushing Emerson Mnangagwa, like I've said, for a third term. People like Owen Ngube, Love Moma Tuke, Opam Chinguri. Let me see if I can get you another clip with people from ZANU-PF chanting the 2030 slogan. So there you are. Those are the members of the ZANU-PF Youth League, and they are chanting 2030, Mnangagwa, vanenge vachipo, that sort of thing. And I'm not sure, I've not actually been able to ascertain definitively who that young man is, who's the young man holding the microphone and chanting the 2030 slogan. It might be John Paraza or Tino Machakaire, those kinds of people. And so Emerson Mnangagwa has done his homework. He's managed to convince the Youth League, and they are at one with his vision for a future where he has got a third term, where he is able to do away with term limits, and he is ruling as he wishes, a dictator essentially. So he has flown into Bulawayo just yesterday, and he is making sure that everything is actually in place for securing the votes he need at the National People's Conference. And you can see for yourself that the ZANU-PF Youth League, the war veterans who are aligned to his faction, the Mnangagwa faction, that is the war veterans now led by Cephas Ngube, they are united behind that 2030 mantra. So the question is whether they are going to prevail against the Chiwenga faction, and whether that faction of the war veterans led by Andreas Matibela has got enough votes actually to block the Emerson Mnangagwa's plans. What we have actually to do is just to wait and see whether at the National People's Conference, which is starting on the 22nd, whether Mnangagwa has done his homework, as most people would like us to believe. Thank you so much for taking time for tuning in, and God bless you all. Tatenda Siavonga. Thank you. Bye.